Hello, welcome back. It's Shawnee. Happy holidays. Today I'm going to tell you about the 6 palettes I use the most. What's going on? What's going on? What's happening? Yeah. You're interrupting the intro. I know. Mm-hmm. You know what that means. Sure. Ow, ow, girl. Come on. There you go. Say hi, my fan club. Hi, my fan club. I know. Okay, thank you so much for making an appearance. Send me your bill. What was I saying? I'm just gonna start over. Hello. It's Shawnee. Welcome back. Happy holidays. Today, I am going to talk to you about the 6 eyeshadow palettes that I used the most this year. So, these are the ones I use the most, and then there's like another list of the ones I use like the second most. Let me know if you want to see those. You probably don't. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. I could have put them all in the same list, but I didn't because I don't want this to take forever. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, the first palette is the Adept Cosmetics Heather Austin palette. Now, this is the second Adept palette that I purchased, and initially when you look at it, you're kind of like, do those go together? But let me tell you, when you put these shades on your eyes, they are gorgeous, okay? Like, my favorite shade is probably this shade here, Video Chat, along with PaO2. I really enjoy both of those, and I often will pair those together. Those are probably the 2 shades that I use the most out of this palette, but I really do enjoy all of the shades and have found ways to use all of them, like, consistently a lot over the year. The next one is the Melt Amor y Mariposas palette. This is one of my favorite palettes, and it's got to be one of my fave Melt palettes. I like it because it has there are a lot of colors. I really like these last 2 shades, or I'm sorry, these last 2 rows the most. This shade here, that is Mariposa. That is one of my favorite shades, along with Abuelita. I really like that one. I like Mesquite. I like Tequila. I mean, I like tequila just in general. Actually, I prefer vodka. But anyway, I have used this palette multiple times, and what I also like about this palette is that this is, I believe, their only palette that is magnetized, so you can pop these shades out and create your own palette, and I really, really like that. I like that the pans are a little bit smaller, so you get a variety of colors, but you don't get like too much product, because you're probably already not going to go through the entire palette, you know? So I just really like this one, and you know what? You know what I'm gonna say? I got it on sale, so that makes me love it even more. Now, the next palette is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Surge palette. I believe this was the first Blend Bunny purchase that I made, and I immediately fell in love. I really like this mix of mattes and shimmers, and I can appreciate the bottom row, which is a row of like neons that are supposed to like show up really well in black light, but I haven't tried that out. So again, if someone can do that for me, I would really appreciate it. But you have these 3 rows of mattes, and then this row of shimmers, and the bottom row is of the neons. I like the layout of the palette. I like the gradient of the shades and the smoothness of both the mattes and the shimmers. It's like phenomenal. Now, This next palette is actually 2-in-1, which you won't be surprised by if you've watched any of my like weekly roundups. I'm often putting 2 palettes together. But this is the Hindash Monochromance and Beautopsy palettes, and they have been depotted and put into this large magnetic case. Now, I noticed that when I had these palettes in their original packaging, I wasn't using them as much. But as soon as I put them together into this palette, I started to realize that I use it a lot more. I'll use some of these shades here as like blushes. I'll use some of these when I'm blending out more colorful looks. I'll use this as a liner, and sometimes I'll even manage to use things as bronzer and setting powders. So like these palettes are so versatile. For me, I just had to make sure to put them together, and that actually kind of prompts me to use them more. I just keep them at the side with a lot of my other palettes that I use more regularly, and I will pull these out, especially if I want blending colors, because I know that these are going to go well. Now, I like that I have them in this palette because I also have popped some single eyeshadows in here before, and I've been able to just take this with me on the go and have my blush, my bronzer, my eyeshadow all in one. So I really like having it this way. And actually, I think what prompted me was that I saw Hindash take or depot his palette and put it into one of these. So I was like, I'm gonna do that too, since the brand owner done did it. Now, the last 2 palettes are the ones that I actually used the most out of all of the palettes that I have. I use these 2 palettes the most. One of them is a bit surprising because it's a newer release, and that one is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. Now, this palette didn't even come out that long ago, but I have gotten a lot of use out of it. I mean, the first video I did with this, I did 6 different looks, and then from then on I have been using it pretty consistently. It's not always in like my weekly roundup, because sometimes I'm just throwing something on and going somewhere, so I'm not necessarily thinking, oh yeah, let me make sure to remember to put it in the roundup. But I have used this quite a bit, and it is one of, I would say it's risen to the top as one of my favorite Natasha Denona palettes. I really like the shades here. I really can appreciate that all of them, each and every single one, shows up on my skin tone, and I really like that. I don't like when I have to like fight to get something to show up. And I've seen a variety of skin tones really enjoy this palette, but mainly I've seen a lot of folks with deeper skin tones really appreciate that. It's a good palette for those of us who have a darker complexion. So this has been one that I've gotten a lot of use out of. My Natasha Denona palettes get use anyway, but this one definitely rose to the top as like, okay girl, you're using that a lot. And the palette that I used the absolute most this year, I used it pretty consistently, is the Nabla Side by Side Nude palette. Now, I don't really hear anyone talk about this palette anymore, but it is one that I've had for a while now. I've got pan in at least like 3 or 4 shades. I really like this shade, this shade, this shade. Like, those are my favorites. I really enjoy them, and I like using this palette. It is a nice neutral palette, but I feel like it has like some depth, and it has some like originality to it. So you've got like the browns and the warmy tones that you would typically see in like a neutral palette, but you've also got these grays and the black here, and this is a really pretty shimmer. Can you see that? That is just really pretty and different. So I really enjoy this palette, and I'm not surprised that it is at the top. It's kind of a go-to palette for me if I want to do something like quick and easy. I know that I can rely on these shades, and I'm going to keep using it until I can't use it anymore. So this is the palette that I use the most this year. I'm really excited to see what palettes I use the most next year. Tell me a little bit about the palettes that you've used a lot this year and what you're thinking about them. Let me know if you've used any of these that I've mentioned. I think that's it. I hope that some of this was helpful, and I also hope that you are taking care of yourself. Be sure to like the video and also to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.